In British Columbia, political parties evolved from loosely affiliated factions. James Douglas had run the hybrid government business called the Honourable Hudson Bay Company and became British Columbia's first governor. Douglas was part black, married to an Aboriginal woman, and supported multicultural and pro-First Nations policies. A faction developed around him called the Douglas Conservatives. Amor de Cosmos lived in California, where democratically elected governments passed racist laws against Native and Chinese minorities. He observed the media turn the majority against the minority. De Cosmos arrived in Victoria with the 1858 gold rush and started a newspaper that attacked the governor. He ran for election against the Jewish Selim Franklin. The votes of black Douglas supporters tipped the balance, and Franklin became one of the first Jewish legislators in British North America. De Cosmos turned his newspaper against his opponents, slurring black and Jewish people. On May 21, 1861, the day after his election loss, he created British Columbia's first organized democratic opposition, the Reform Association. De Cosmos reformers were supported by British Columbia's first labor organization, the Working Men's Protective Association. It later changed its name to the Anti-Chinese Association. It was run by Noah Shakespeare, who also headed BC's first alcohol prohibition organization, which opposed the pragmatic management, we might say harm reduction approach of the Douglas faction. The Knights of Labor challenged the Douglas faction by organizing petitions for the Chinese head tax, which De Cosmos personally introduced to Parliament. Douglas's son-in-law, John Helmken, defended the Chinese. The De Cosmos faction lobbied to remove Douglas, then reversed his pro-First Nations policies. The mix of democratic and non-democratic elements under Douglas transitioned to full democracy in 1871. The Douglas faction's John McCreed was appointed our first premier. In the very first Parliament, the De Cosmos faction majority removed the right to vote from Native and Chinese people. Premier McCreed challenged this to Ottawa, but failed. The arrival of full democracy brought institutional racism to British Columbia. In time, even the Douglas faction adopted the racism demanded by the logic of the new political reality. Douglas and De Cosmos factions marked the beginning of organized adversarial politics in British Columbia.